To the Temple Terrace City Council meeting. It's good to see a full house tonight. We haven't seen this many people in here in a long time, so welcome to everybody. I don't know who all of you are yet, but we're glad you're here. So just to remind everybody, please make sure you silence all your electronic devices, and if you would, please stand with me for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, as we meet this evening to conduct the important business of our citizens and our city, we ask for your blessings of wisdom and cooperation. Guide us as we work towards increasing the security and prosperity of our citizens. We thank you for this governing body, for the citizens that it serves, and especially for the employees who work in our amazing city. As we continue to try and find normalcy in these unprecedented times, be with us and protect each of us, so that we may go home to our family safely at the end of the day. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve the citizens of Temple Terrace for the past 25 years. Protect our amazing city and guide this council as they make policy today and each day forward. All this we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Chillura. A couple of real quick announcements. First of all, for anybody in the gallery who might be waiting for item 8E, concerning a modification of interlocal funding agreement between the City of Temple Terrace and Hillsborough County, that item is being pulled tonight due to some minor modifications of the language in the agreement that came in at the last moment. So if you're here for 8E, I don't want to make you sit through the meeting to find out that that item is pulled. Second thing very quickly is I'd like to acknowledge and congratulate publicly, I've talked to her privately, but Council Member-elect Meredith Abel. Congratulations on your winning the election. And I'd also like to acknowledge the two other candidates, Mr. Bergorovich, who I don't believe is with us tonight, and Mr. Kawaja, who is with us tonight. And thank you to all three of you for running a great campaign and your dedication to the city. It's one thing to like the city you live in, and it's a completely other thing to be willing to put yourself out there and raise the money and do the hard work of a campaign to compete in an election to get a job that basically pays nothing. So thank you both, all three of you, for your willingness to serve the city. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And I'd like to call, we have a couple representatives from Moffitt with us tonight, Dr. Eric Toloza and Haley Tolbert, both from Moffitt. Please, if you'd like to come up to the podium. You must be Dr. Toloza. Welcome. Yes, welcome. So, thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate that. So, whereas November 2020 has been declared National Lung Cancer Awareness Month, approximately 150,500 Floridians will learn they have lung cancer this year. And whereas lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death in both men and women, claiming the lives of approximately 372 people a day nationwide, which is more than breast, prostate, colorectal, and brain cancers combined. Lung screening reduces lung cancer mortality by 14 to 20% through early detection. Moffitt Cancer Center is a national leader in the prevention, treatment, and research of lung cancer, dedicated to informing and empowering people at high risk for developing lung cancer. And whereas the lung cancer screening program at the Moffitt Cancer Center offers a comprehensive range of resources aimed at early detection and cure of lung cancer, as well as tobacco cessation and community awareness of screening opportunities. And whereas Temple Terrace, Florida is similarly committed to the eradication of lung cancer and supports the early detection of lung cancer in its citizens and the advancement of clinical research in this field, and encourages public and private efforts to enhance research funding and education programs that address lung cancer and promote wide access to the latest screening and treatments. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Temple Terrace, Florida joins with Moffitt Cancer Center in designating the month of November 2020 as Lung Cancer Screening Awareness Month to bring public awareness to the severity of this disease and to encourage participation in low-dose CT screening and voluntary activities to support tobacco cessation. Thank you, Doctor. Would you like to say a few words?
Well, we gladly accept this recognition on behalf of the patients and the staff and the physicians and nurses at Moffitt Cancer Center. We think it'll help us contribute to the prevention and cure of cancer as it motivates us to do more.
Thank you again for joining with us tonight, and thank you for all the work that you and your colleagues do at Moffitt. It's truly I think all of us have probably known people who have gone to Moffitt for treatment, or in my case, I know people that are still going to Moffitt, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. It's a shame that anybody has to go, but if you have to, Moffitt is the place to go.
Thank you for inviting us.
She wants a subdivision. I know to listen to her at this point. Oh, please. Yeah, by all means.
Williams, Mrs. Williams?
Please.
Mrs. Williams, the late Dr. Charles.
Welcome, Mrs. Williams, please. We have to smile with our eyes. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
No.
You're welcome to stay, but I don't blame you.
If Gil was in that picture, yeah. If Gil was there.
We'll have it on your way. Next item on the agenda, the beginning of these meetings are always the best. I like doing the beginning. The next item on the agenda is the Florida League of Cities recognition of Councilmember Frank Chillura for his service to the community for more than 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, you talk about commitment. That's commitment. The Board of Directors of the Florida League of Cities is honoring Councilmember Frank Chillura, former mayor as well, for his many years of elected municipal service, and is presenting him with the Mayor John Land Years of Service Award. Named in honor of longtime Apopka Mayor John Land, who served his city for more than 60 years. You're not going to do that, right? I think Angela might have something to say about that. This award honors elected municipal officials for their extensive years of dedicated public service. America's municipal governments have long relied upon the unselfish leadership of the citizens for local self-government. Florida's municipal governments share the time-honored role as the level of government closest to the people. Municipal elected officials make significant sacrifices of their time and energies on behalf of their citizenry, often for little or no compensation, making this commitment a true labor of love. Several terms in office is the highest compliment voters give to an elected official. And with these years of experience comes a strengthening of wisdom, discernment, and strong leadership skills that brings tremendous value to the municipal governments of Florida. Frank Chillura has held office in the city of Temple Terrace for many years and is being recognized for this achievement. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Florida League of Cities that Frank Chillura is commended for his dedication to the city of Temple Terrace and is hereby recognized as an outstanding public servant in Florida.
Thank you.
I have an award for you. You have to go downstairs.
Go get behind the picture. Frank was.
You need to come up here.
No, I don't know about that. I bet you did as much sacrifice. Sure you don't want one? Would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you very much for the recognition, and I know we have a long meeting tonight, so I'll yield to the next meeting. Okay, so I appreciate that. I thank my wife for being here and all the support that her and my entire family have made, and the sacrifices. I originally got on here in 1995 with co-board and served 2 terms on city council, 1 term as mayor, and my final and last term as city council. And my wife has an exclamation point behind that. So that's definitely, I appreciate the support and the opportunity to serve our great citizens. And I've enjoyed working with each and every one of you. It's been a true pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Well, likewise, I'm sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for your service. Next item on the agenda are board appointments. We have 2 appointments to make. The first one is a school support committee appointment. There's 1 vacancy on the school support committee for a term extending from November 17th, 2020 until November 17th, 2023. City received 1 application from Mr. Mike Segrist. Is Mr. Segrist here tonight? I don't see that he is here tonight. Is there a motion to approve the appointment of Mike Segrist as a member of the school support committee for the term before previously discussed?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Mr. Segrist is appointed to the school support committee. The next appointment is for the Hillsborough County Historical Advisory Council. There is 1 vacancy on the Hillsborough County Historical Advisory Council for a term extending from November 17th until November 17th, 2023. The city received 2 applications, one from Marissa Robinson and the other from Thomas Mortensen. Are either of the applicants here? I see Ms. Robinson is here. Ma'am, would you like to say a few words? Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Marissa Robinson, and I have been a resident of Temple Terrace for the past 10 years. I applied for the Historical Advisory Council position because I feel that my background in historic preservation would be an asset to the council. I received a degree in historic preservation from the College of Charleston in 2006. While I do enjoy researching historic properties, I also enjoy volunteering and do so locally with the Junior Women's Club. It would be a great honor for me to represent the city and the Historical Advisory Council. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for applying, Ms.
Thank you.
Robinson. Mr. Mortensen, I do not believe is here. All right. So the way this works is each council member has a ballot. This is not a secret ballot system. Everything done in Florida is in the sunshine. So each council member will select their choice. The ballots will then be handed to the clerk, who will do the math, and then we will announce. They're not secret in that they are maintained in the public record. It's just that the mayor can't count to 5 reliably, so we asked the clerk to do it.
Voted for Marissa Robinson. Councilmember Chambers voted for Marissa Robinson. Councilmember Chillura voted for Thomas Mortensen. Mayor Andy Ross voted for Thomas Mortensen. And Councilmember Schisler voted for Marissa Robinson.
Very good. Ms. Robinson, you are hereby appointed to the Historic Commission.
We need a motion.
Oh, I do, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the appointment of Marissa Robinson as a member of the Hillsborough County Historic Advisory Council for a term previously mentioned?
I move to approve Ms. Robinson.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Mrs. Robinson, thank you for your willingness to serve. Mr. Mortensen, if you are watching at home, this was a very difficult choice. I know we all read the resumes and they're both outstanding. They're both good fits for this commission. I wish we had 2 seats. But if you would, sir, if you're still willing to serve, if you're watching, there may be some opportunities coming up in this same vein that we might reach out to you to see if you're interested in. So thank you for your application as well. Next item is consideration of the minutes from the previous meeting of November 2nd. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion is second. Is there any discussion or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. The minutes are approved. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. I do not have any requests to speak for items not on the agenda at this point. If there are members of the public who wish to speak on items not on the agenda or not on the consent agenda, now is the time to come forward and speak. Chief, does this person wish to address the council?
She does, Mr. Mayor. I gave it, I'm not sure exactly what was on it, but she just said that she didn't have one, so I don't know exactly what she filled out.
What's your name, ma'am?
Sarah Carlson?
Okay, you wanted to speak on the city manager's contract? Okay, that's item 8H, that's later. So we'll call you when that item comes up. Are there members of the public who wish to speak on items not on the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, next item is the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. One is a resolution approving the purchase of replacement patrol vehicles and WatchGuard in-car camera systems. The second item is a resolution approving the purchase of replacement investigative services vehicle. City Manager Stevenson will explain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 7A is a resolution approving the purchase of 5 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles, including all the required emergency lights, vehicle graphics, and other equipment necessary to mark and outfit the vehicles, and 5 WatchGuard in-car camera system to be installed within each new vehicle. The purchase of the 5 2021 Ford vehicles will be made from Bartow Ford under the Charlotte County Contract Bid Award number 20180000509. The vehicles will be purchased at a cost of $44,080 each. The payment of the $220,400 for the patrol vehicles will be made from account 160-1421-521.64-11. The $4,600 of budgeted funds in this account will also be used to purchase ancillary equipment needed to properly equip the vehicles. The resolution also includes the 5 WatchGuard in-car camera systems from WatchGuard, which is a sole source vendor from Allen, Texas, who has outfitted our vehicles for the past future. This purchase of in-car cameras will be made from account 160-1421-521.64-99 in the amount of $20,050. Item 7B is a resolution to City Council approving the purchase of 2 unmarked police service vehicles for the Police Investigative Division. The purchase consists of one 2020 Ford Fusion in the amount of $20,875.23 and one 2021 Ford F-150 in the amount of $33,870.35. As part of the city's vehicle replacement program, $55,500 was budgeted in fiscal year 2021's Community Investment Tax Fund budget for this purchase. Both vehicles will be purchased from Bartow Ford under Charlotte County Contract Bid number 20180000509. The remaining budgeted funds in this account not to exceed $754.42 will be used to purchase additional equipment necessary to properly outfit and equip both vehicles. Those are the two items on consent agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Good, thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Is
Thank
there a
you.
motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is approved. Next item is a resolution to adopt SP 20-01 plat for 5400 Busch Boulevard subdivision located at 5400 Busch Boulevard. Senior Planner Gus Carpus will explain. Welcome, Mr. Carpus.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. What you have before you is a final plat. Okay. I did have a final plat up there. So SP 20-01 is a final plat for Salem Fresh Eats. They're creating an out parcel at 5400 Busch Boulevard. The applicant is JD Elzaba, Sycamore Engineering. The location of this property is going to be addressed 5308 Busch Boulevard. It's located north of Busch Boulevard and east of Overlook Drive. Again, the applicant is proposing to plat an out parcel on the existing property. The proposed area would be .61 plus or minus acres. Here's the aerial view of the property. Again, it's the old Kmart site that's now the Tampa Mall. You got the Dunkin' Donuts down there to the southwest and Publix to the west side or east side of the building. And there's the cover sheet. So here you've got lot 1, and then down to the southwest is lot 2. That's the proposed new lot. As you may recall, you approved a site plan for this parcel back in October. So this is the lot that it's actually going on. And there is another shot of it, a close-up. Now, the lot is going to have approximately 191 foot in width and 140 foot in depth. And the staff did recommend approval for this resolution, and subject to any conditions that the council felt were necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Carpus. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, are there questions for Mr. Carpus? Seeing no questions, is there a motion to adopt SP 20-01 plat for 5400 Busch Boulevard?
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Carpus.
Thank you.
Next item is the first reading of ordinance 1503, approving the comprehensive plan amendment for property located at 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway, CPA 20-03. Planner Celeste Lau will explain. We can do a lot of cross-training around here, don't we? Welcome, Celeste.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. This item is actually not being presented tonight. This is not the public hearing for it. What this is sort of just an introduction for the item. This item is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, which means that the property being amended is less than 10 acres and therefore only requires one public hearing. But again, we're just introducing the item because it goes hand in hand with my next item. So I kind of wanted to keep it together so you guys understand that on the December 15th meeting, there's going to be the CPA that's going to be heard, as well as the second hearing for this rezoning item.
Okay, so what is expected of, is there any expected council action from this presentation tonight?
I think it would just to be a motion to approve it to be heard at the December 15th public hearing.
Okay, but that's not going to be the second reading, that would be the first reading?
It'll be the second reading, but the first hearing.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, proceed.
I mean, that's it for this item. So I think now, Pam, do they?
If this is the first reading, then if the clerk would, if you have questions first, this would be a time to ask questions, but then the clerk should just read the ordinance and then
Okay.
announce that the second reading and public hearing would be at the December 15th meeting. So we
Okay.
have two readings, but one hearing.
Okay, so you got me lost in the woods here a little
Okay.
bit. I apologize if it looks like I'm unprepared, because this isn't what, so we're not, at this point, we're not going to take public hearing or public comment? We're not going to vote?
Because it's a
Small
small
scale.
scale, it doesn't require two hearings, it requires two readings, and the second one is the hearing.
Okay, so the public comment opportunity will be at the second
December
hearing?
15th meeting.
Okay, so all we're going to do tonight is read it and then vote to vote on it at the next meeting?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, very good. So I think if I understand it correctly, then I will ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance. Is that the next step? Okay. Sorry, folks, we're flying by the seat of my pants here because this doesn't,
An
Yeah.
we're
ordinance-
good, we're good.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending the Imagine 2040 Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan, future land use map for portions of two parcels of land located at 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway, consistent of approximately 3.41 plus/minus acres, by changing the future land use designation on said property from commercial and public, semi-public to residential for CPA 20-03, providing for amendment to the official future land use map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Very good. If acceptable, council members, is there a motion to approve first reading so we can vote on this at the December 15th meeting?
I'm sorry, this just doesn't feel right.
I'm not reading, I'm just doing. I think if I understand it correctly,
I can
the
explain.
December 15th vote is the real vote.
Well, no, I understand that, I mean, just because with other public hearings. But I mean, there's a lot of people who are here and a lot of people who are watching on TV, and this is absolutely, they have less idea than we do as to what's going on with this. I would have expected at least some type of presentation from staff as to a little bit more than this is what we're doing, and you don't talk about it until December 15th. I don't mean to be curt with that, but it just seems like let's okay, move forward with it. I would like to hear some more about it if we could. I mean, if not, we have the plans here, we have the privilege and the opportunity to look at this, whereas people at home who are watching don't necessarily have that opportunity, I don't think, unless I fell asleep somewhere and didn't see it.
No,
And if that's the proper legal procedure, I don't want to upset the apple
There-
cart. I'm not
if
trying to
you-
interject anything, I'm just trying to,
If you want to hear more about that and have a bigger presentation, that's fine. The actual hearing with public comment would be next time. It could have been this time, and then all we would do the next time is just read and vote with no public comment and hearing. When you have a small-scale comp plan amendment, because it's an ordinance, it requires two readings. But because it's small scale, it only requires one actual hearing. Rather than hear it the first time and then just vote the second time with no comment, we were weighing which would be better. And we felt that announcing it at the first one and getting people in the mood, prepared, hearing about it, it would be better for them to have the second reading to present their comments.
Well,
It could be one way, it could be either way. But if you want to hear more presentation, then certainly staff should give you more of a presentation and answer any questions you have.
Well, why don't we do this, because I kind of feel similar to Mr. Schuster on this. Why don't you, if you're prepared, at least make the presentation to us? Because we do have members of the public who have already submitted to comment on the next items which are related.
May I approach?
Well, not yet. I don't know who that, not yet. So why don't you make the presentation? I hear what you're saying about we'll have one hearing, but at the very minimum here, we'll know, we'll have our eyes open about what it is we're voting to approve, because right now, I'm not sure we understand, I'm not sure the public has a good grasp. And then we'll make sure the public knows that they have an opportunity at the December 15th meeting to come and provide public comment. Okay?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So this presentation is actually done by Planning Commission staff, Mark Hudson, so he'll be attending the next meeting. So I don't have a presentation for this, but I can definitely summarize what the
okay.
comp plan amendment is. So again, the project site is located at 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway. The project area is approximately 3.41 acres, and essentially, the applicant is amending this subject property from public and semi-public and commercial to residential 4, so that they can build a subdivision. So that's sort of
Okay.
what they're requesting.
Okay. I know this is not according to what was planned for this, but neither are the notes. But I know we have people here who are dying to speak to this. In the interest of saving 3 minutes of time, I'm not going to shut them down. They're here, they want to speak, I'm going to let them speak.
The rezoning item will be presented next, so that's going to have a presentation, and they can respond to that. Again, the comp plan amendment will be heard at the December 15th meeting. The reason why is, since the comp plan amendment won't be heard until December 15th, it wasn't advertised for this meeting. It's going to be
Okay.
advertised for the December 15th.
All right, well, they can speak again on December 15th, but I'm not going to tell members of the public who are here prepared to speak on this item that's on the agenda that they can't talk. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
So, ma'am, did you want to, it's time for public comment. You may,
Okay. I just want to know I'm here with the applicant, and I have a presentation for the plan development, and I do have some slides that.
would you come up, please? Start with your name and who you are.
My name is Sheila Tyree, and I'm with Height Design, and I'm here to represent the applicant.
Okay.
And I will have a presentation for the plan development, which is the next item on the
The
agenda.
next item.
And I do have some slides that will show you the comp plan. So
Okay.
I have graphics that show you the amendment, so it will explain it a little bit.
Okay. Well,
I
then
give you a
you're-
little preview of Mark Hudson's.
Okay, well, we'll have you up here then
Okay.
for 8C,
Yes.
which is the next
So I
item.
just wanted to let you know, you will be getting a little more information.
Okay, thank you. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Well, you're for the next item or this one? Well, no, you decide. You're the member of the public.
It's not about the zoning, it's about the development.
Okay.
So she can go next.
Yeah, I think it probably fits with the next hearing, if it's all right with you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have a motion to,
To vote on this in December?
I don't know, to schedule this meeting for December 15th and hold the public hearing, a second reading of this comp plan amendment? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve on that.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion? Vice Mayor, did you have discussion?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays? We will hear this hopefully in a little more detail on December 15th. Next item, I think this is what everybody's kind of waiting for, is the first public hearing and reading approving ordinance 1504 zoning reclassification of 7032, 7746 Temple Terrace Highway, RZP 20-02. Public hearing is now open. I'm going to ask anyone who intends to speak on this matter to stand for the oath, which will be administered by the clerk.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Good, thank you. Mr. Stone, would you please make an inquiry on ex parte communications?
If any member of this council has received any written communication or had any oral communication regarding this matter outside of this evening's hearing, please state what that communication consisted of, with whom it occurred, when, and the substance of that communication. If it was in written form, also please provide a copy of that writing to the clerk for it to be maintained in the records.
You want us to poll, right?
Yes.
Vice Mayor, would you like to start, please?
I've had none.
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 Good. Planner Celeste Lau will explain. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's see
Sorry
if this
about
goes
that
a little.
confusion. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to pull the presentation up. Thank you. Oh. Okay. So the item that I am presenting tonight is RZP 20-02, which is a zoning reclassification for a property located at 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway. The subject property is currently located on the Terrace Hill Golf Course, which is at the northwest corner of the Temple Terrace Highway and North 78th Street intersection. The current zoning for the property is single-family residential, commercial general, and educational/institutional. The applicant is proposing to rezone the property to planned development. The subject property's approximate size is 35.42 acres. On the left, you'll see the map for the existing zoning. You can see the yellow shows the single-family residential, the light blue shows the educational institutional, and the red shows the commercial general. On the right, you'll see the proposed zoning map where the purple is shown is the planned development zoning. The applicant is proposing a subdivision with 141 detached single-family dwelling units. Density in the city of Temple Terrace is determined by the future land use designation, which is outlined in the city's comprehensive plan. A majority of the subject property has the future land use designation of residential 4, which allows for 4 units per acre. A comprehensive plan amendment was submitted concurrently with this application. That application requests to amend 3.41 acres from commercial and public/semi-public to residential 4 to reach the 141 unit density. This item will be heard on December 15th, 2020. Here is the plan development concept plan. You'll see that the subject property is outlined in yellow. The blue shows where the proposed 141 single-family units will be. The green shows the proposed stormwater retention areas. And this subject property, or the proposed development, will have 2 access points. The main access will be off of Temple Terrace Highway, and the secondary access is along North 78th Street, and those are indicated by those black arrows there. There's also going to be a future commercial area that's adjacent to the proposed development. This site is already zoned commercial, so it doesn't have to go through a rezoning. So it's sort of being left as future commercial area. Here are the proposed use renderings that the applicant submitted. These are renderings showing the types of homes they propose to develop. The homes do range from single-story to 2-story and from 4 to 6 bedrooms. With this application, the applicant is requesting a waiver from Section 12-957B5 to reduce the required parking for 4 to 6 bedroom homes from 5 to 4 parking spaces. The applicant has stated that this reduction has worked in their previous similar developments. During review, the Planning Commission found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and city staff recommends the council approve the ordinance for RZP 20-02. That concludes staff presentation. The applicant is here and has a presentation of their own. However, staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. The applicant's agent here, I believe, wanted to make a presentation. Yes, ma'am.
Hello again.
Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. All right. Okay. If I could get my
Ryan,
presentation
can you
up.
bring that up?
So we have our development team here today. We have a representative from D.R. Horton, who is the applicant, developer, and home builder. And Florida College is the current property owner. And myself and Christy Barrero is here from Height Design. We also have Jeremy Couch and Alex Kuzmir here from Tampa Civil. And we have Rob Fulp here with Links Associates for traffic, for any questions arise later. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a brief overview of the project process. We started with several meetings with staff to kind of iron out some details, and then we submitted the small-scale comprehensive plan application, and that went through its process with the county. The Planning Commission did find that it's consistent, and they recommended approval. Staff also recommended that we have a neighborhood meeting, which we did have in August. And overall, the neighbors were much happier with a single-family development versus an applicant a couple years ago that was multifamily. So as I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek on Mark's presentation next month. This is the future land use as it sits today. And you can see the areas that we're proposing to amend. The majority of the property already is residential 4. We are just adding those 2 small pieces, which are about 3.41 acres. And so that's as it is today. This is how it will look if it is adopted. And we just needed that little piece down in the commercial just to get our entrance. And this will, if you adopt this, this will allow the additional 13 residential units for the total of 141. As it sits today, it would already allow 128 units. So this is only adding 13 additional units. This is an aerial view, so you can kind of get a better understanding where the property is. You can see Temple Terrace Highway there at the southern end, and then 70th Street there on the side. And now we'll get to the zoning. So currently, most of the parcel is residential 9. And there's that little part at the bottom, that's the commercial that we're rezoning to planned development. And then the little part, the part from the side that is being purchased from Florida College that is currently educational, institutional. And we're proposing to change it all to planned development, as Celeste showed you. We're proposing, again, 141 single-family detached residential units. The minimum lot size that we're proposing is 5,500 square feet. The minimum lot width is 50 feet. And the maximum height would be 40 feet or 2 stories. This is where we're at in the process as a conceptual plan. As Celeste said, we have 2 access points. We have the primary access coming in off of Temple Terrace Highway. That alignment will line up with the current median cut with the Boys and Girls Club. And the secondary access will come in off of 78th Street. And anybody coming out that way, there's a signal there at 78th and Temple Terrace Highway. So that intersection is already signalized. For compatibility, we have the stormwater ponds on the west side to help buffer this residential use from the college uses. There will be a buffer on the southern between the residential uses and the commercial. We have a buffer along 78th Street, and the applicant is proposing a PVC fence along with landscaping and a sidewalk. So those are the proposed buffers. This was the plan development plan that was submitted that Celeste colored so pretty for you. This is the more technical items, and again, it shows the 2 access points. And now we get to the point where you can ask me questions.
Well, we do have questions, but we take public comment, and
Okay.
then we have council member questions.
All right, that's fine.
Very good.
Do you want
Does
to sit
that
back down?
conclude your presentation?
Yes, that concludes
Yeah.
my presentation, unless there are questions and I can
Well,
flip
there
back
will
and forth.
be,
Okay.
but we usually take public comment, and
Okay.
then you'll have an opportunity to answer questions and to respond to any public comments.
Okay.
that are made. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one request currently from Mrs. Rennie to address this issue. Mrs. Rennie, you're up.
Or-
That is the only request I have at this time. If there are other members of the public who wish to comment, forms are available in the back.
Thank you.
That's all right. Doing a wonderful job. Thank you. Welcome, Mrs. Rennie.
Annette Rennie, 9512 Woodland Ridge Drive. We did have a chance, a bunch of us who are really involved in our subdivision, to speak with a developer, and we had 4 concerns which we voiced to them. And I'd like this to be made record tonight because we are still concerned about it. Not that the fact that we're going to have single-family homes, which is a big improvement over what was going to be built there. But we asked for the privacy fence on 78th Street with good landscaping. A privacy fence in the back, which at that time they said they couldn't determine who it belonged to, whether it was the city or Florida College, that would separate the subdivision from the preserve. The reason being, we fought to get a gate in the main entrance of the preserve on 78th Street to keep people out. And we've had issues in the past when the fence or the gate was broken where kids would go back there and people would dump animals or dump. So one entrance and one entrance only to the preserve, and even though these homes might be backing up to the preserve, it wouldn't be good for them either to have it open because obviously we have coyotes and we have different wild animals, but mostly just to keep it private and have the one safe entrance that's gated. It opens at dawn, it closes at dusk. The third thing that is extremely important, we have 2 subdivisions in the back. Coming in and going out of our subdivision, we have an issue which one lane comes in, one lane goes out, and you can either go straight or turn right. Now you're adding a 3rd subdivision, which is going to some empty out onto 78th. So we want a designated right turn on that corner so that there is no issues when you're coming out of the 78th Street with the other 2 subdivisions coming out there also, and they're able to take a designated right turn. And we did bring this up to the developer, and they said something about money. And yes, we know it's money, but it's also safety. So I want that made public or in the records, not in the minutes, and that should be part of this whole subdivision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Rennie. Are there other members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, council member questions for staff or for the petitioner? Mr. Chambers.
For somebody to address the fence issue along Riverfront Preserve. That is a chain link fence now that's owned by Florida College, was put in by Florida College. What will become the status of that fence along the north side of your development?
Please.
We did originally show a pedestrian access going through that fence. So we've removed the pedestrian access, and it will be up to the individual lot owners if they choose to fence the back of their lot or not.
So there's a fence there now, put in by the college and owned and maintained by the college. What happens to it during your construction? Does it stay there?
That will most likely be removed because it's going to be graded and prepared for construction.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Schisler?
Yes, what was the outcome of the traffic studies? There's going to be a lot more, that's a precarious intersection to begin with, and then you're going to dump a lot more cars coming in and out of there. What's going to happen, what did the traffic studies reveal?
May I bring up the traffic engineer?
Please.
Okay.
Okay. And if you could bring back my presentation, I do have a couple slides that he can use if necessary.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. You mind if I slip this off a little bit? It fogs up the glasses. Just, my name is Rob Folk. I'm a professional traffic engineer with Links and Associates in Tampa, and we were assigned to prepare the traffic study. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have, and I would like to address the comment by the lady as well. So.
Well, why don't you, if you would, start with that.
Okay, sure. Well, we prepared the traffic study in accordance with Hillsborough County standards as well as the City of Temple Terrace standards. And based on the outcome of the study, a southbound right turn lane at the traffic signal on 78th and Temple Terrace Highway is not warranted. Let's see, right now, based on the analysis, which would consider the project traffic plus peak season traffic conditions, where we took traffic counts last year and grew them by 2%, which was a peak season correction factor. And by the way, we considered traffic conditions when the school is in session. So it's, traffic's heavy during school times. And so we run the models. We use an intersection capacity analysis model. And based on the outcome, we have a left turn lane and a shared through right lane for that southbound movement approaching the traffic signal. And based on the results of the capacity analysis, we have levels of service B or C during the AM and PM peak hour conditions. AM being 7 to 9, PM being sometime between 4 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Just to give you some more information on the good acceptable levels of service, the volume to capacity ratios for that movement are during the AM peak hour, this is for the shared through right movement, is 0.22, and the VC, volume to capacity ratio, for the PM peak hour is 0.11. That's excellent. Anything above 1.0 would be really bad, okay? Again, think about it in terms of you have volume in the numerator, capacity in the denominator. So anything greater than 1, that would be level of service F, basically. Another point I'd like to mention, again, speaking specifically about the shared through right movement at this traffic signal at 78th and Temple Terrace Highway. The shared through right movement during the AM and PM peak hours has a vehicular delay of 12.6 seconds per vehicle during the AM peak hour and 14.7 seconds per vehicle during the PM peak hour. What does that mean exactly? That just means you have excellent levels of service. The vehicles aren't necessarily waiting for any length of time. I know that people get frustrated because they're in a shared through right turn lane. And the people that are wanting to turn right might have to wait a second or two longer because somebody wants to go through the intersection and head south down 78th Avenue, or street, excuse me. So that kind of answers the lady's concerns about, is it warranted? It's not warranted based on the traffic study and based on the intersection capacity analysis. Again, modeling project traffic and peak season traffic.
I have a question. Did you say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't, what type of traffic volume are we going to be talking about going through that intersection?
Yes, good point. I had a couple of slides up. They're the last ones in Sheila's presentation. Here's the project traffic graphic shown. I believe that's figure 2. I can't see that far. You can see from our traffic study, this is the estimated amount of traffic that we have considered during the AM and the PM peak hours. There's a slash in between the two numbers. The first number is the AM peak hour. The second number is the PM peak hour. So you can see we're adding 8 and 6 right turners in that southbound right turn movement, and we're adding 10 and 7 for the through movement, and we're adding 15 and 10 to the southbound left turn movement at the signal.
Does this add up to 100 vehicles? I mean, it
Well,
just,
that's project traffic, and that's based on our original analysis. And our original analysis, by the way, considered 150 single-family homes. As you heard earlier tonight, the development has downsized a little bit to 141 dwelling units. So those numbers are going to reduce a little bit. They're going to come down. So the next slide that I have should be figure 4. I don't know if she's got that up or not. Can you? Over here. There we go. I can't read. Is that peak season traffic? Okay, so peak season traffic is where we went out in the field, we count our traffic during the AM and PM peak hours. We were doing our counts, just to give you an idea, back in August of 2019, and we picked up one count on October 2019. And again, those were counted during school session. And we factor those numbers up based on the peak season correction factor. In this case, for that particular time period, it was a 2% growth. So we took those numbers and we grew them up by 2%. And then what we do to come up with our peak season plus project traffic, that would be the next graphic. And here, this shows the total traffic. The southbound right turn during the morning is 61. During the afternoon, it's 26 vehicles. The through movement southbound is 26 and 15, and the southbound left turn, 39 and 27. Not a lot of traffic, to be honest with you. The main entrance to this subdivision is off of Temple Terrace Highway. And you heard it's going to align with the median opening that's there today. That's the majority of the traffic is going to really be isolated, not isolated, but targeted to that main entrance.
and you're going to have cars coming in and out that, going east on that main entrance?
Going, on the main, yes, we will. On eastbound, on Temple Terrace Highway, turning left into the main entrance? Is that what you're asking?
Without a traffic light?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Traffic signal's not warranted for this condition. It doesn't meet Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County is the owner, if you will, of Temple Terrace Highway. We have to abide by their rules and guidelines. It doesn't warrant a traffic signal at that location, number one.
The statistics don't warrant it. You're saying the statistics don't warrant it?
Based on the levels of service that we have. For the unsignalized intersection, it works. And we wouldn't meet the signal spacing criteria for a traffic signal at that location. There's certain kind of criteria.
I realize that, yeah, it's going to be different. It would be difficult to put one in there.
Right.
But trying to, if it was just a right turn or westward turn only, I could understand that. But the opportunity to go east on that's going to be difficult. I'm not.
Well, you got to think about it in terms of, are there available gaps in the traffic stream to make that eastbound and northbound left turn lane into the subdivision? And there is a traffic signal at 78th and Temple Terrace Highway that provides gaps in the traffic stream. You have a 4-lane divided roadway with lots of capacity. I know a lot of people don't quite understand what capacity means, but during the peak hours, you have levels of service C or better on Temple Terrace Highway in this particular area of Temple Terrace. And so there's gaps in this traffic stream that would allow those left turners to get into the subdivision.
And what's the average speed on that road? On the other side of the river?
Well, it's posted at, I believe, 45.
45.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of gambling going across there. The other question I have with traffic is regard to the intersection at 78th Street.
Okay.
When you're coming southbound on 78th Street, that's a relatively blind corner coming from the east, going west.
Okay.
That, and I know when I come out of there, it's a little bit, you can't see very far. So anybody make any consideration to fixing that intersection to give it better visibility? That's a tough area.
That has not been considered in our traffic study, but that's certainly something that we could talk to Hillsborough County about, and perhaps maybe putting up a warning sign that's further east of that location, just letting motorists know that you're approaching a traffic signal, use caution.
It's 45 miles an hour there, as you said, and there's people coming, and that's going to be a minimum speed. I spend a lot of time in that area, and it's going to be, we're going to be asking for troubles in the future. I'm
Other
done.
council member questions? I have a couple. I haven't done a traffic study, and I'm looking at your graphs, but I've done some common sense stuff, and I know Temple Terrace. I agree with Mr. Schischler. This is without some traffic modifications. In fact, one of the questions I wrote down that you answered since you got up here, and I answered it with what I was hoping you wouldn't say, is that out of the main entrance to the subdivision, cars will be allowed to proceed to the median and then turn left and travel east. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. And I know the speed limit there is 45, but we all know that 45 on that road is the exception, not the rule. I go out there, I was out there today. People, and I'm not justifying people speeding, and I know we can't design stuff around speeders, but pulling out of that subdivision, crossing that 4-lane divided highway to turn left and go east, that's just asking for trouble. And I'm doing a little math in my head, and I'm looking at the subdivision that's 4 to 6 bedroom houses. Okay, these are families. This isn't a retirement community, so I'm assuming that most of the people that buy these homes are going to work. Now, not all of them are going to work conventional hours, but let's just say 90% of them work. And let's just suppose that 90% of that 90% are two worker families. You do a little math and figure out how many road trips that is out of that subdivision, most of them during the peak hours. I can see that 78th Street, I mean, I haven't reviewed your graphs, but just common sense tells me that we have 2 subdivisions there already. We're adding 141 new homes. That probably a minimum of 2 workers, 2 trips per house out of 90% of those homes. Those are big houses. Presumably, those are houses that are bought by people with families who have kids that drive.
Right.
And so I would look at the capacity, and I think if I heard you correctly, you said that intersection's a B or C now.
I'm talking about the traffic signal.
Okay,
at,
well, if it's a
78,
B or C now, dump 250 road trips on it twice a day, and it's not gonna be a B or C anymore, it's gonna be a D or an F. So I mean,
Yeah, not necessarily.
well, I'm not a traffic engineer, but these cars have gotta go somewhere.
Right, right. Let me give you an idea on the distribution of the project trips, okay? The distribution we considered was 30% of the project trips are going to be oriented to the east, from the east, to and from the east. 50% of the trips are going to be oriented to and from the west. 20% of the project trips are going to be oriented to and from the south, going down 78th Street. So that adds up to 100% of the project trips. So you distribute the traffic based on these percentages that I just said, and then you get to that graphic that I showed you. Let's go back to the graphic number 2. Do I just hit the forward button? Here we go. All right. Graphic number 2, where you see the letter A, that's the main entrance into the subdivision. You can see the estimation of traffic that's estimated to turn right out of the subdivision. We have 34 in the morning and 22 in the afternoon. We have 16 in the morning and 10 in the afternoon. So, yes, I see your concern, but that to me is not a lot of traffic, and it's spread over a period of time. It doesn't happen all of a sudden.
34 cars out of 141 homes?
Okay, let me go back. Yes, all right. Bear with me.
Isn't that enough?
The number, to determine the number of trips for, and again, I based it on 150 dwelling units in my original study. We use a program that's prepared by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, a nationally known entity. And so we plug in the numbers, and the estimated number of trips on the 150 DUs is 1,510 trip-ins. Now, our traffic study doesn't look at levels of service on a daily basis. We're drilling down and looking at levels of service on the peak hour, the AM peak hour and the PM peak hour. So the AM peak hour trip-ins is 28 cars going into the subdivision, either the main entrance or the back entrance, and 83 cars coming out in the morning using either entrances. That's a total of 111. And then in the afternoon, we have 95 cars going in and 55 cars coming out of the subdivision using the two entrances. So those are the numbers that we're plugging into the background traffic, the peak season traffic, based on the distribution and how we spread the traffic out. And then we model those intersections.
Other questions, council members? Mr. Chillura?
Just a couple comments I'd like to make. Go ahead.
Sure.
Mayor, my name is Jeremy Couch from Tampa Civil. I'm the project engineer. I'm the engineer of record for the overall project. So Rob is our traffic specialist, but we're looking at the overall project. In general, I think if I was sitting in your seats and I saw the graphs that put up there, there's a lot going on. And if you don't do this on a daily basis, it's extremely complicated. They are using really good engineering behind this. I would like to let the council know, though, and that the city has an independent engineer that reviewed this report on behalf of the city. So your city engineer has hired a third party, Kimley Horn, to review everything that we've submitted. Your traffic consultant, independent representing you, has come back with a few questions for us and a few comments, and they're very minor in nature, but in general, they did agree with Mr. Fulp's analysis. So they made mention to where they disagreed with one small conclusion about the length of a turn lane. We are going to incorporate that into our design, being the east to northbound left from Temple Terrace into the neighborhood. I think we're going to add 55 additional feet to that movement. In addition, there is also a light west of our access. I believe it is Terrace.
That's Temple Park Drive.
Temple Park Drive, thank you. We're going to also be extending that, so that will provide more storage in both locations for the U-turns. So just wanted to add that small point of clarification that Mr. Folk didn't say, to let you know that he's not the only person who has done this and asking you to take his word.
Okay.
There has been another consultant.
Thank you, Mr. Couch.
Yes,
So, council members, I just want to remind everybody in the interest of time that we're still on traffic. There are other questions too, so let's try to, Mr. Chillura. So, Mr. Chillura.
Just a couple of comments. So there is no median cut on Temple Terrace Highway. You're going to have to make a U-turn if you want to go back from the main entrance. If you're on Temple Terrace Highway heading eastbound, you would have to, and you want to turn into that between the two commercial parcels. You can't get there if you're heading eastbound. You have to make a U-turn.
If you're heading east, again, the main entrance to this subdivision will align with the Boys and Girls Club's driveway and that existing median opening there. Are you referring to the existing opening at, what is it, Heritage Hills Drive? Or
I'm referring to the opening that you have on your site plan, conceptual plan, that is between the two commercial parcels.
That connection.
The only entrance you have off of Temple Terrace Highway is the one I'm referring to. I don't think you have any other entrances on
That's
Temple Terrace
correct.
Highway.
It's just the one.
So
Yes,
how do you
sir.
get in there if you're heading eastbound? You make a U-turn? How do you get in? If I'm heading eastbound on Temple Terrace Highway,
Yeah.
how do I turn in that driveway, or I don't turn in that driveway? There's no median cut there, is there?
Yeah, there is.
I'm
Do we
just
have
looking
an
at your-
aerial or? Something, yeah. Show the
And
area.
also, just to make a correction, the proposed houses are going to be 3 to 5 bedrooms, not 4 to 6. It's 3 to 5.
There you go.
So if you, I don't know if you can zoom in a little more on that bottom part, if you guys can see.
Looks like a green driveway to me, but that's
If you
the
look-
driveway that leads into the subdivision, and then the two commercial pieces would abut or adjacent to the driveway leading in. And then the
So-
median opening exists there.
Yes.
And
So if you're heading eastbound on
Eastbound.
Temple Terrace Highway,
Yep.
you could turn into that green driveway.
That's correct. There'll be a left turn lane. And it'll be
Because from that
sized, it'll be
picture-
sized according to,
From that picture, looks like there's a,
there's some
existing
trees in the
lane.
median and all.
no, that's further up. I'm talking right in front of the lane. It looks like two, they're gonna run into each other. I can't point to the screen from here, but
Yeah, there is an existing westbound left turn lane at Temple Park Drive that we said is going to be lengthened. And then we're going to be providing an eastbound left turn lane into the subdivision driveway at the main entrance.
Samantha. Councilmember Chillura, Jeremy Couch. So currently, there's a gap right there between the treed median and the existing westbound lane. It's bi-directional. So
Correct.
it's one of those
That's-
where you can sit in the middle and you can turn either direction. What we plan to do is we're going to add a concrete separator that begins at the bull nose of the existing treed island and goes east to develop an actual formal turn lane. So the two turn lanes, the westbound left and our eastbound left, will align
got it.
at the Boys and Girls Club.
That's a good explanation. Okay. So if you're pulling out of that driveway, you cannot go east. You can only go west.
So if you're leaving the project site, right now it's designed with full access. I have a copy of what the access.
Right now, it is designed with a full access?
We're designing it as full access. If you have an Elmo, I could put up something
Okay.
specific to show you what that access would look like.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's just gonna get a little busy there. That's all I'm trying to point at. So here's my questions for the sake of discussion. Boulder Parkway is a county road, Temple Terrace Highway, whatever you want to call it. It's got 5 different names. So that's going to get a little hairy there. And just living in the city for a long time, I know what Temple Terrace Highway looks like, and I know what 78th Street looks like. My concern is this, okay? Not so much your project, but all the traffic that's being generated from the houses back there in combination with your project is going to create some intensity on 78th Street. That's number one. Maybe consideration be given that, just talking out loud, maybe that side street can only be used during certain hours of the day, not peak hours. So everybody's not piling in there while the two subdivisions are trying to pull out, and that subdivision is pulling through there as well. But I would strongly suggest that that's the traffic issue, which sounds like you guys are still in discussion with that, but strongly suggest that there be some kind of reasonable buffer that's going to be put in place along 78th Street and along the preserve, because with zoning, a lot of times when there's a change of zoning, whether it's public or it's commercial or residential, there's always some kind of buffer that's put in place. I would not leave it up to the residents, because the preserve is an isolated, protected area that after hours is shut down. And if you leave that open, or discretion of the residents, some may use it, some may not. It will confuse the heck out of the police department, because when that gate closes, they know nobody's supposed to be back there. But there's people from the homes that are going back there, whether they're on motorcycles or whatever they may be on. So that can create some confusion. So I would caution you to take that into consideration. I think residential development is a good fit for that property. The neighbors have been concerned with some of the other proposals that have come forward, so I think we're going into the right direction. I think there's got to be some tweaking where everybody's comfortable. I understand you guys have the studies and the expertise, but that area, go there at 7:30 in the morning. There's a lot of traffic flowing out of 78th Street, and it'll back up, and then you're dumping that much more on there. It's gonna create a problem. And on Temple Terrace side where you have two turns, one going left, one going right, that's gonna get intense too. And then you got one guy that's gonna come out of the subdivision, go straight into the middle of the street. There's gonna be a lot of fire department and police department calls going in that direction, which I don't think we want to encourage. Just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chillura, I know you, well, let me call on
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Vice Mayor.
My only concern was that fence. That's my only concern. I hear the traffic engineers, and I'm not, it's like second guessing a scientist, okay? You guys,
No left out.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
We, you know,
I hear you about the traffic, okay? And I, you know, for us, a few more cars is a lot of cars, okay? So my concern is that fence along the back line. So you're traffic people, you're probably saying, oh, good, I can sit down. She's not talking to me. But Mr. Chillura is absolutely right. That is a protected park, and if that is open, you're going to cause problems for the whole neighborhood. And unless you deed it that they must put up a fence, there will be havoc back there. We've already, when it first opened, we already had problems with it being a new park, and it was not good for the neighborhood. So we need to respect that and seriously think about that. Now, as far as the traffic, I think, you know, you're probably going to be talking to Hillsborough County a little bit more than you have been. But my major concern, the big flag that was raised for me, I like the idea that you're going to put homes in that area. I think you're on the right path, but that park is a woolly park. I mean, it is, it's rough back there. And, you know, we do have coyotes here, so you will too.
I've heard.
If you don't have a fence.
I've heard that was a good talking point at the neighborhood meeting. We did
Yeah.
find out.
That's
a
my
lot.
comment. Thank you.
So in the time, I don't think our intent was expressed properly about the fence to the north. That fence, I did work with, reach out and communicate with the folks at your Parks and Rec department. I can't remember the director's name right now. Very nice man, very helpful. He did explain to me that fence did belong to Florida College and will convey to D.R. Horton. In speaking with D.R. Horton during this meeting, we do intend to keep that fence there. So there will be a fence. If the fence is destroyed during construction, we'll commit to put that up, put it back, and show that on the plans. It's not going to be in a separate tract for the HOA to maintain because that kind of comes, a lot of times that doesn't work out, but we'll keep it to each lot owner and have a requirement that the fence remain. The other discussion I had just now with Mr. Fulp was if we were to propose doing a directional opening at the access instead of a full opening. So we put the delineator that would prevent the south to eastbound movement to where they go out and sit in the middle of the median, you know, with their rear end hanging out and get the calls. Whether that would affect the traffic distribution. The answer is no. So we're happy to propose that directional opening at the access point on Temple Terrace Highway also for safety.
Mr. Chambers, do you have anything? Okay, Mr. Sister.
Okay, back to traffic. Everything else, you know, the fence, the property, the water lines, that's all fixable. Somebody gets killed on Temple Terrace Highway, we can't fix that. So let's get back to the real issue. Who in the city you said that I believe that our city engineers hired Kimberly Horn to take a look at it. Who in the city reviewed that? Nobody? Okay, but who in our, who?
Troy Tinch, I believe is your
okay.
public records,
Troy,
or your public works director.
What is the circumstances there? Because there's going to be more than 81 cars, additional cars coming out of there in the morning, and that intersection is horrible. You cannot see cars coming over the rise there. It's not a hill, but it's definitely a dangerous intersection. So
that is correct. We actually hired a third party, as indicated, Kimberly Horn, to review the traffic study. So they came back with their findings, and they made some minor recommendations to what was provided to them. and the recommendations have been gone over earlier. To be truthful, I would have to go back and re-review that information. As you know, right now, we're void a city engineer, someone who would traditionally look at that. But I could go back and look at the information and provide you with an update on that.
I'm not sure
Synopsis.
what we can actually do about this issue, but I'm very concerned about it. And with the modification to the main entrance, I'm not sure what that's going to do, except stack traffic back up into the subdivision, the new subdivision, because they can't go sit in the middle. Neither situation is good, I understand
Right.
that. But without some type of traffic signal relief, 45 is a suggestion during most of the day, unless there's a police officer in the area, and then they'll slow down. But other than that, 45 is minor.
Correct.
Okay, so we can have all the studies we want, okay? But someday, we're gonna be back in here, and somebody saying, somebody got killed on that street because of the extra traffic's coming out of there. And I think that I don't know that enough planning's been done with it. I don't know what you can do, but you guys are the pros from Dover, and you need to tell us how to make it as safe as possible. And I think we're creating, as Mayor Ross said, it's going to be a recipe for disaster, and it's going to be ugly.
One thing to also keep in mind, again, access management for Temple Terrace Highway is Hillsborough County, not the city of Temple Terrace. So they would control that access point. Our access point would be 78th Street, the access onto 78th Street. Does that make sense?
I understand that,
Okay.
but do they come look at the intersection when they're
They
reviewing it?
absolutely should, yes.
Pardon me?
They absolutely should, yes.
Should, but do that. I mean, I know that intersection's terrible.
Right.
People coming from the east, and you're gonna come out of there and go, no matter where you go, unless you got the light.
Right.
You're taking your life in your hands coming out of there, so it's just,
Okay,
I just think that
we're
we
to the
need
point, I
to
think we're
do
beating the
more
horse
with
to
that.
death here.
I
so-
understand that, but this is serious, in my
Okay.
opinion.
I have to tell you, besides the traffic, which has been discussed ad nauseum here, and I still have concerns, I think there's more work to be done here. But I also have some other questions, and we talked about the fence. And adding the fence, I'm not sure that even completely satisfies my concern, because if you add a PVC fence along the north side during construction, those people buy their homes, they move in, they have a PVC fence in the backyard, but as they live there for 10 years, that fence falls down. There's no future assurance that there's a barrier between those residences, and unless there's some law that's passed that that particular backyard has to have a fence on the north side, we don't have any way to keep, I mean, if somebody buys that house and rips down their section of fence because they don't like it, they want to look at the preserve, what are we going to do about it? So I think there's more work to be done on several things. Another thing, and this seems minor compared to some of the other stuff, in the interest of time, I don't know that I even want to drag this out, but I have questions about the waiver of the minimum parking too. I mean, I envision a neighborhood that doesn't, you got 4 or 5 bedrooms, you got 4 or 5 cars, got my house, we got 4 cars, and there's 23 of us. And there's street parking now because there's not enough parking, and now you've got the thing where you got people all parking in the street because there's not enough parking. So I have questions about that too. I think there's, just for me, I like the idea of this proposal. I was very happy to hear that it was single-family homes and that there was work done to get away from the multifamily home. I like this project. I am not against this project. I'm in favor of it. But I think there's some more work to be done here. I have some questions. I mean, the traffic we beat to death, but those issues are real. And the fence issue, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if we require, they have to build a fence and put it in their deed that they have to have that fence into, perpetually, or whether we make them build a fence and give it to us. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't want to have a fence and then in 5-6 years we're got no fence because it fell down or it's in disrepair. And then we have a code violation. Well, okay, that's going to solve the problem.
May I
So,
approach?
Please do.
With the fence, we can put in the HOA docs that it needs to be maintained. There's already a fence along 78th Street that the neighborhoods on that side maintain, and it's, the lots. So that we can definitely put into the HOA documents, that they're required to maintain a fence there and they're not allowed to remove it. And then, as we discussed, that they can re-engineer that intersection so that there's nobody coming out making the left turn. They can make a left in, but they won't be able to make a left out right there at that main intersection on 78th Street. Hopefully that is a little better.
That will help, but I got to tell you, I'm just speaking for me. I don't know what the council's going to do. I'm not a traffic engineer, and I'm not disputing or questioning what the engineers say. But I can count to 141. And I know what that roadway looks like now, and I am not convinced, I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm not convinced that you're going to add that many road trips. And I know the area too, and I don't dispute his projected blend of who's going to go east and who's going to go west and who's going to go south. But I do know that if you're going to get on the interstate system, you're going to go east, right? I'm assuming that probably, like he said, most of those people are going to go east because that's the way to get on 301, that's the way to get on I-4. If you're going to Brandon, you're going anywhere, that's where you're going to go. More people are going to go to work that way than go to the west. He said that, I agree with him. Getting out of there and turning left on the Temple Terrace Highway without modifications to that intersection, it's already a challenge. And you add 141 homes in there, sure, some of them are going to go out the main entrance and go west, turn right on the Temple Terrace Highway. That's an easy, I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. Because when the light turns red, they'll have time to get out. But turning east with no dedicated turn lanes and no arrow, no protected left turn to dump those cars out, I'm not convinced. And I know I'm not a traffic engineer, but I am not convinced. So I don't know what the next step is. I love this project, but I think there's more to be done here.
I have Brian Mihalik with D.R. Horton
Hello.
to speak.
Good evening, how are you? Brian Mihalik with D.R. Horton. Appreciate the opportunity. We definitely hear everything that you're saying. We definitely hear what the neighbors have said. We appreciate the dialogue and the feedback. We've worked really hard with our team and with the neighborhood and with staff to make sure that this is a quality project. We've designed things to try to alleviate some of these, but I feel that we have some work to still do, like you've said. So if I may, we'd like to ask for a continuance, be able to continue to work with staff, as well as work with county staff on Temple Terrace Highway, come back and present some things in regards to the fence and the traffic, maybe in stipulations or design, and come back with you at the next hearing.
Okay. Mr. Sohn, please provide some procedural clarity.
Since the hearing's already been opened on this, you can postpone this particular phase of this to a meeting certain. And since I believe we've already noticed the second reading for our next regular meeting, the second one in December, you could postpone to that meeting and continue on the first reading of this ordinance. Then the second reading would happen in January.
Okay.
Or is it possible to continue to work with staff and still have this be the first reading and then just come up with other stipulations by the second reading in the actual hearing adoption? On the 25th, is that or the 15th, yeah.
You could do that, but I'm guessing from what I'm hearing that you will not be approving this on first reading. So that's fine if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that you're going to approve today. I do think that there are other things. I would like if it's possible to, is it possible to have this the first hearing and adopt at the second hearing on the 14th?
You can approve on the second hearing if you're satisfied with what they come back with at the meeting in December.
And there is a hearing in between, so it's not like it's the very next hearing. If we feel that staff I think that we would have enough time to work with staff to make that possible, if you agree, Celeste, with staff.
This would not then be a continuance of this one. They
Correct.
would be making a vote at the end of this.
That would be our preference, is to delay the vote until the second hearing. Is that the better way to put it?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is to just not ask for the continuance, but to just simply delay the vote until the second hearing, which is December 14th or 15th.
Well, generally, there would be a vote tonight, and it can be either to approve on first reading, but then there would also be the second reading and hearing. Or they would vote tonight to not approve on first reading, and you could, again, have your hearing and your second reading at the meeting on the 15th. But this would not be a continuance of this one. There would be some, there could be no motion at all tonight if you don't want to
So if you want next one.
make any decision at all tonight.
Okay. Well, Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's clearly a little bit of work that needs to be done on this. I don't know that you would want to take a vote on this tonight. I do agree that we ought to postpone this. Let the applicants and the engineers start working with staff a little bit. We've heard concern of council. Certainly, I think that those can be resolved. And I think we ought to bring this back on the 15th for a first public hearing and a first reading and just continue this meeting. That would be my suggestion. Obviously, that's up to the applicants if they choose to do that, but my suggestion to them is to come back and get with staff. We've heard some good stuff and some stuff that is still concerning. The blind corner at the intersection that Mr. Schischler mentioned is there. It's a bad intersection. So there are some things that outside of the normal development, and a lot of what we've been talking about as far as traffic turn lanes, fencing, typically handled at site plan review, not any rezoning. But certainly, I don't know that council is comfortable to approve a zoning without any kind of conditions whatsoever. The fence on the north side can certainly be a condition of zoning approval, and make sure that it's there when we do site plan approval. So there are things that we can address. I don't mind getting involved a little bit more than what obviously I haven't been involved, but from the staff level, we can certainly, I think, get this project going. I think it's a good project. It just needs a little bit of work. So.
Okay, council, what I would like to see, if somebody's willing to do it, is a motion to postpone this first reading to December 15th. And then upon approval at the first reading, the second reading would be at the meeting following December 15th.
You understand that? It will go into January.
I do, yes. And I think, yeah, we would agree that, we've heard what you've said. We appreciate the feedback as well as with the residents, and we want to make sure that we address all the concerns, and we think that we'll have time to do that.
I don't want to approve this on first reading and then hold everything for second reading, because the public deserves two readings of the project as it stands.
We're all in favor of the project. We really are.
Okay,
It doesn't sound that way, but we are.
If I can get a motion to that effect, we can move on.
I moved to postpone the first reading of this ordinance to date certain, which is December 15th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. We will see you on December 15th. And folks, I'm sorry, I hope you don't feel like we wasted your time. We are in favor of it. We just we're not there yet.
Well,
Thank you all for your time and discussion.
That
Yes.
was a good
Look forward
hour.
to seeing you guys on December 15th.
We'll go work with staff and figure it out.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is a first reading, I think. First reading of ordinance 1502, amending chapter 2 of the code, police pensions and retirement. Detective, did I miss something? Oh, Detective Joe Anderson, chairman of the police pension board, will explain. Welcome. Thank you for your patience,
Thank you, Mayor.
Detective.
Good evening, City Council. Like the Mayor said, I'm Detective Joe Anderson with the Terrace Police Department. I'm also chairman of the Police Pension Board. I'm here to present this first reading of Ordinance 1502. Just some background. Last year, the City Council adopted an ordinance allowing the police drop participants and future retirees to extend their participation in the drop program by an additional 3 years. At that time, the drop was capped at 5 years. 3 more years would make it 8 years. The reason for this change was to allow the police department to preserve institutional knowledge, retain experience and effective leaders, train, mentor prospective command staff members without adding considerable cost to the pension system. A sunset clause in the ordinance provided that the additional 3-year option would expire after 3 years. This ordinance today is to amend it to remove that sunset provision and allow all members to continue to participate in the drop for 8 years. That's section 1 of the amendment. Section 2 clarifies the police officers electing the drop extension will be able to choose their rate of return for the extension period at the beginning of the extension period. Section 3 provides that the board can adopt policies to keep the Internal Revenue Code up to date with the plan, and then allowing, we can put them in the plan just by a board vote and then allow city council to vote on it and it becomes law. But we'll be in compliance during that time it takes to get city council to vote on it. Section 4 incorporates the IRS code change for the required minimum distribution age. Section 5 adds a rehire after retirement language, which details how rehirees are treated for pension purposes. It states that retirees can work for any employer other than the city and still receive their pension. Retirees who are hired by the city after retirement but not at the police department and some non-sworn police and non-sworn city position will continue to receive their pension and be eligible for any pension system that that new position might have. Retirees who are rehired by the city after normal retirement and they're rehired as a sworn officer will stop receiving their pensions, pension benefit, but will be go back to participate in the police pension plan, earning a second police pension, and they will be considered fully vested as of their employment with the city. Drop participants will be allowed, will be treated the same. Vested terminating members, revision if they're rehired at the beginning of the benefits. So I'm kind of rambling on here. That's basically what the amendment's saying.
Good, thank you, Detective. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? Vice Mayor Donahue.
So the only change is that you're going to drop the sunset.
Yes, that is, well, I won't say it's the only change.
Yeah,
It's one of the changes. Like I said, the other changes were basically, that's the main change that we're looking for. The other changes were just to keep our pension code up to date with IRS regulations. The rehire after retirement, that was something we didn't have in our plan before, and an issue came up last year where a retired police officer wanted to get back into the sworn position. It wasn't addressed in our code, so it never came to that because he wasn't rehired, but our pension attorney on the board suggested, since other pensions have this kind of language in there, addressing these issues in case it does come up again.
Okay, so this went before, so your pension board is in agreement, and the actuary has said that this is not going to bankrupt us?
Well, yes, we do have an actuary who, the pension board did agree to this and voted on it. Our actuary did provide a financial impact statement. I can summarize it. Really, it's a long statement with a lot of assumptions, 5 pages. Basically what it comes down to, and this is assuming 100% participation in the drop program, would be an additional $12,000 a year cost to the city in contributions.
This is the same number we approved before, this just takes the sunset off of it.
With this new rehire. The new
Right,
rehire.
right, but in
piece is-
terms of the financial impact of the city, we approved this already
Yes.
for a period of
Yes.
time, we're just being asked to approve it
Yes.
now.
Yes, I understand that.
Well, I'll wait, let me see if
No, I'm fine.
Were you done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. Chambers?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sister.
If I remember correctly, the original actuarial analysis showed about a $1,200 improvement to the financial position on the impact of the drop, if I remember correctly. What, did they
On
give any?
adding the 3 years to the drop?
Yeah. Is there any indication as to why it goes negative this time?
I did not bring that first actuarial statement with me. I just have the one that was completed on September 8th
I might
of this
be
year.
wrong, but I think
It was a minor ding to the
It was like
city.
nothing.
It
very-
was, yeah,
Well, I
but there
would
wasn't
think
a
that it
fuss.
would cost slight more, just because we're adding an additional 3 years, but
Maybe
I'd
that's-
have to remember and look
Just
at
out of
it.
curiosity, I'm okay with it. It just, we have a second hearing on this, right?
This is the first reading.
This first, so we'll have a second reading.
Yes.
Could you have that answer for us for
Sure.
next time? Just curious. Okay, thank you.
Detective, I have one question. So what, I know we added language concerning rehires in section 4. Were there changes there? I thought that was that reflected already in city policy or something?
There were no changes, no deletions from our code. This was all new language added to our code.
Okay, because I read that about the rehires, and I said, well, I thought that's the way it already was. I didn't know, was that written somewhere else, or am I thinking of the fire pension? Where am I getting this language? Because when I read it, it all looked like stuff I've already read, but it's all new language.
This one, this one does have some similarities to the fire one, so that's why it should look familiar to you. So, and I also wanted to mention, there was another version of this with some corrections that had been made, that I made along with the board's attorney, and I believe this one still contains this was a version before the last one. This one still contains a few mistakes. So when this comes up to you for second reading, there will be some more corrections. One of them just was a kind of a ministerial one. I'm looking at 3B. It's obviously 3B is being removed, but it says insert effective date. Well, there is a date that we knew what it was, so even though it's coming out, it should be in there. Also, one of the major things that I had them change was where it has section 3, and then you'll see it refers to D under section 3, and it's added language. At the bottom of the added language, it says that and that policy and any amendments shall have the force of law as if adopted by the city council. That came out. Nothing should be automatic as if adopted by city council. So we removed a piece of that paragraph as well. So I just want to let you know that this will be tweaked. You'll get a different version that's really the already corrected one when this comes up to you for second reading. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
So can we approve it first reading if it's going to change at the second reading?
I mean, these are not major changes, but if you approve it at this reading with those corrections.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions, council members? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve ordinance 1502 concerning chapter 2 of the Code of Police Pensions?
So moved with the pending corrections.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oops.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration and Elections, Article 3, Offices and Employees, Division 3, Pensions and Retirement, Subdivision 5, Police Offices of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Temple Terrace, amending Section 2-262, Deferred Retirement Options Program Drop, amending Section 2-279, Miscellaneous, amending Section 2-281, Share Program, adding a new Section 2-282, providing for rehire after retirement, providing for severability of provisions, providing for codification, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Sorry for jumping on you there. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 1502?
I think you have a motion on it.
So moved with the corrections.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Ordinance is passed on first reading. Will appear for second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, December 15th. Thank you, Detective. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Item 8E is pulled. Item 8F is a resolution approving a revised fund balance policy. Finance Director Lynn Boswell, who's been patiently sitting here all night, will explain. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Ross and council members. During City Council workshop on the fiscal year 2021 budget, the City Council was provided recommendations to revise the city's fund balance policy. Currently, the policy indicates the city will maintain 16.7% of the unassigned and assigned fund balance of the general fund operating funds to include its debt service. After discussion, presentation by the city manager and the finance director, the unassigned balance should be increased to 20% of the general fund's operating expense to include the debt service fund. In addition, the policy for the water and sewer fund, sanitation fund, and the internal fund, staff recommends that henceforth these three funds have an unassigned fund balance of 25% of operating costs to include debt service. The attached policy underlines suggestions that should the fund balance be over or under the percentages, and timeframes to rectify or keep the fund balances on track. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution revising the city's fund balance policy for all affected funds.
Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, are there questions for Ms. Boswell? Mrs. Boswell. Okay, we're good. If acceptable, then I'll entertain a motion approving the revised fund balance policy.
Move to approve the revisal of the fund balance policy.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is passed. Thank you, Mrs. Boswell. Next item is a resolution awarding a utility relocation contract to Austin Construction Group Incorporated. Public Works Utilities Director Troy Tench will explain. Mr. Tench, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Troy Tench, City Public Works Director for Utilities. I'm here this evening to seek approval for the award of the project to relocate our utilities within the Morris Bridge Road area. This is in association with a much bigger project, the FDOT Trail Project. If I could get a little background information, thank you. So if you notice on the screen here, the trail actually starts at Davis Road. And for those of you who are unaware, Davis Road, or Morris Bridge from Davis Road north to Fletcher Avenue is actually FDOT controlled highway. It's an FDOT road. So we've been working with the MPO for some time. We had our projects list put together, working with DOT, and we asked for this trail system to be put in, and FDOT funded the design, and now they've moved into the construction phase. So we're trying to keep up with that construction phase, and that's what's bringing us here tonight. So what you're proposing to do from Davis Road across Fowler Avenue to basically the entrance to Fisherman's Wharf, they'll be constructing a 6-foot wide sidewalk joint use path. At that point, from basically Fisherman's Landing up to 127th, continuing north, it will become a multi-use 8 to 10 foot wide asphalt trail. That then ties in with the multi-use trail that exists on 127th Avenue that the city built some number of years ago in association with 127th Avenue. Once you cross onto the north side of 127th, it then reverts back to the 6-foot wide concrete sidewalk, the joint use path, if you will, or sidewalk, traverses all the way up to Fletcher Avenue. There's a few spots that it connects in with existing sidewalk, but for the most place, it is a continuation all the way through to Fletcher. What this does then is it ties the central portion of the city in with the northern portion of the city. It also provides for an access where you do more or less hop your way along to Lettuce Lake Park. There's a contiguous sidewalk that runs along Fletcher Avenue all the way to Park Ridge Road. And then there's a small section, a go path, if you will, that would allow you to make your way over to the entrance to Lettuce Lake Park. So when they went through the design process, what they had to do is extend the shoulder to accommodate the new pathway, the new joint use path. And that also required them to extend a lot of the existing stormwater utilities. So stormwater lines, stormwater boxes all had to be moved. Well, once those were moved, those then put them in conflict with our existing water and wastewater utilities. So we have a handful of areas where we had those direct conflicts that we need to take action on. And so part of this project that we're seeking approval of tonight is to do just that, or all of this project. It would be to move the water line. There's a 12-inch water line that runs adjacent to Morse Ridge Road between Fletcher Avenue and Fowler Avenue. So there are 4 instances where we would have to actually move that line vertically, so lower it, so it stays out of conflict with those utilities. We also have a couple of fire hydrants that would need to be moved in association with the trail. And then we have some valve boxes that would need to be raised. And we also have one sanitary sewer force main that has to be slightly lowered, and that is at the intersection of Fowler Avenue and Morse Ridge Road. So what we did is we solicited 3 bids for this project. They came in and they ranged from just over 200,000 to just under 500,000. So we selected the lowest bid for this project, which came in at $218,000. With that said, staff recommends the City Council approve the expenditure of $218,000 for construction efforts to relocate potable water and sanitary sewer utilities along Morse Ridge Road to Austin Construction Group. This expenditure has been appropriated under account string 533.63-32 and corresponding water and sewer fund balance. I'll stand for questions if any.
Thank you, Mr. Tinter. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, any questions for Director Tinch? Mr. Schiff?
Yeah, sorry. Since this is potentially tied in with the transportation tax.
Yes.
Okay, reimbursement from that. What causes the urgency to move forward with that now prior to resolution of the tax status?
So I put in my memo that we would be potentially seeking reimbursement through that, the surtax.
Right.
However, FDOT is not tied to the surtax. They've already funded the project, and it was let to beginning this month, meaning they're ready to begin construction.
So we're holding them up.
I'm sorry?
We'll be holding them up.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
So what we want to do is we want to get on board, make sure our contractor has a conversation with their contractor, they work in concert with one another. So as they move along through the project, we do kind of a one dig scenario where they're going to extend the existing sewer line, or they're going to put in a new, existing stormwater line. We then dig, we move our water line, or we move the sewer line, and then they go back in and put in the facilities that they have constructed. So the funding for DOT is not tied to the surtax.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, that's just something that we would hopefully be able to go after at a later date.
Well, I mean, we didn't budget for it this way, so what does this do to our fund balance? And we just passed a resolution to maintain.
The impact on our fund
25%.
balance will be $18,000. So we do annually budget for projects of this nature.
Okay.
$200,000.
Okay.
So the additional $18,000 will be coming out of our fund balance. Right now, our fund balance is fairly robust, over $1 million. So we should not have any issues with absorbing it at this time. And to speak a little more to the surtax, what I would need to do is, first of all, I've already spoken to the liaison from the county, and he thinks this project would qualify. I would need to bring it to you as an addendum to our existing work plan. And then we would take that to the IOC. If the IOC approved that expenditure, then we could seek reimbursement for this project. When that happens,
I didn't go
Only the
look,
core
but I
system
thought,
knows.
I'm sorry, I didn't look, but I thought this was already included in the list. The Morse Bridge Trail, wasn't it?
No,
Is this not included in the IOC listing? I thought it was.
No, this
Okay.
is, that
It's
was a
something
different project. That was the
Okay.
TICO alignment trail project.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
which is adjacent to Morse Bridge.
So we budgeted 200,000, we're going to take 18,000 out of reserves to cover it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Other questions for Mr. Tinch? If not, if acceptable, I'll entertain a motion awarding a utility relocation contract to Austin Construction Group.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is passed. Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Tinch. Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a 3-year employment agreement with the city manager. I will explain. The proposed contract is before you tonight is exactly the same as the contract that was before us at our last meeting, with one exception, and that is that the vacation cap has been returned to the 450 hours as is in Mr. Stevenson's current contract and is consistent with the rules for all city employees. All other items in the contract remain as they were at our last meeting and have not been changed. Mr. Stevenson, anything to add to that? Does that sum it up?
No, Mr. Mayor, thanks for the summary. That was all that happened. So.
Very good. Are there members, I do know there are members of the public who wish to comment. I have 2 requests. One is from Councilmember-elect Meredith Abel. Ms. Abel? Good evening.
Meredith Abel. I've been following this discussion closely as a candidate, listening but not weighing in. I have, however, listened to comments made by the citizens as well as the people on council regarding this matter. The point has been made in particular by Mayor Ross that this decision ought to be the purview of the new council. And as council member-elect, I would very much like to have the opportunity to weigh in on this and also vote on the city manager's contract. As this contract does not renew until the end of February, this is not a matter of great urgency. And I would like to express my gratitude to the mayor and the city manager for all the work they have engaged in order to hammer all of this out. Nevertheless, with consideration to the voters of Temple Terrace, please give me the opportunity to weigh in on this item and vote as a sworn-in city council member. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abel. Next person is, and she was in here a minute ago, there we are, Ms. Carlton. Did I say that correctly, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay. That's right. Thank you for your patience. I know you tried to talk earlier and I sent you away.
That's okay.
Welcome.
Wishful thinking, I could get it over with. All right, so this is the wrong time to be approving a 3-year employment agreement with the current city manager. In Temple Terrace, we're about to have a change, not just in who is in our government, but in the actual structure of our government. And this sort of last-minute approval feels out of step with what's happening in the city. It feels wrong to lock something in this way when things are about to change in a few weeks. And I can't think of a good faith reason why the city council would be doing this now and not just waiting. As Meredith said, what's the hurry? In addition, we're about to get hit with a big budgetary crisis because of COVID. And the real question really should be not how much vacation time and pay the city manager will get, but rather how much he is willing to cut back on his pay and his perks. He's already allowed to live outside the city, and this is not the time to load up on any other special treatment. And yeah. So I strongly urge you to wait a few weeks, take this up again when the new government is in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carlton. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Mrs. Snelling.
Good evening, council members. Just hearing the discussion, I just wanted to...
We know who you are, but we
Okay,
still
Ellen
need your name and that.
and live in Temple Terrace. I've lived here since 2002, and I, of course, lived here the whole time when we've had our current city manager, and I just want to say that I think he's done a great job, always presents a balanced budget, and I don't have a problem with considering his, his contract right now. I'm not sure why we would need to wait. I know we will have a new city council member, but, not someone that's been coming to meetings over the last several years and is familiar with everything that's going on. So I think that you all can make a great decision, based on what you know already, but I just wanted to be here in support of our current city manager, Charles Stevenson. Thank you.
Are there other members of the public who wish to address this item? If not, council member questions, I guess, of me or Mr. Stevenson. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I do have a comment.
Oh,
I-
well-
I have heard repeatedly the same comments. What's your rush? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing? So I know it's not going to change anyone's mind tonight, but I do want you to know that it is a major discussion point out there as to why we would be doing this before we have the 5 who will be living under this. And Mr. Chillura has worked with him for many years, so yes, he obviously knows about the city manager, but I have to add into the record that this has been something I have been called on repeatedly. And, I encourage people to send an email. It's amazing. People will stop you in the grocery store and talk to you, but then they won't send an email. So I will just leave my comments there, that I am disappointed that we are rushing this through when it doesn't take effect until February. And we actually heard from our newest council member that she would like for us to wait, and it just seems ill-placed for us not to. So, thank you.
Well, I'll just say that I had the same observation and was of the same opinion that this should have taken place after the new council member was seated, but the majority of council decided that some time ago. And so the majority of council spoke, and that was the end of it for me. So I haven't changed my opinion on that, but
I haven't either.
that ship sailed. So other comments, questions?
Move to adopt the contract as written.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the contract. And with that discussion, at the last council meeting, we had discussed this contract in great detail. Everybody that sat up here, and if I'm speaking incorrectly, correct me, was okay with the terms that were being proposed. So and we've been talking about this for well over a month. It's not like it's a surprise. The mayor's been negotiating with the city manager. So at the last meeting, I think there was a consensus, at least from my observation. Go back and look at the video, I did. And everybody was okay as long as the sick leave vacation hours were the same as the general employees. And the mayor was able to come to those terms. So there was nothing else to talk about at that point in time. So to now sit here and go somewhere else, Mayor Ross is correct. Originally there was discussion as to when to bring this up for discussion. But I will tell you, being here for a long time, I know what Mr. Stevenson has done, what he's capable of doing, and I've seen a hell of a lot worse when we had Jerry Sieber. For those of you that don't know, go look it up. The budget has been balanced. He's come to us. There's times we disagree with each other. Absolutely, that's what makes a government. I'm the one that brought up, after Ms. Donahue said they were ready to take a vote, and I'm the one that brought up, said, I'm not comfortable with the 650 hours. So it wasn't a matter of just rushing something through. There had to be some kind of fairness and consistency. We brought it up. The mayor was sent back to Mr. Stevenson to discuss it. After, for the most part, I believe everybody was okay with it, if that term would change. So I don't know what's changed from now to then. And that's why my second is because for myself at that point, I said, I will support the contract if it's 450 hours, like the general employees. And that's what's happened. So at least that's where I'm coming from. I just wanted to explain that. Thank you.
Very good. We have a motion by Councilmember Schisler, seconded by Councilmember Chillura. Is there further discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Mr. Stevenson, congratulations. Look forward to working with you for another 3 years. And I'm sure that you share my relief that this is over for a while.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you, Council.
Council business, carryover business. I have a couple of items. I know it's late. I'll try to be brief. I sent an email out to the council members and council member-elect concerning the election of a vice mayor and the board appointments. For members of the public, the current resolution passed in 1988 says that will be the policy of the city to elect the vice mayor on the first Tuesday following the first Monday of November, which is otherwise known as Election Day. I don't know how that decision was reached in 1988. I've looked at the minutes, we've checked. You can't find any discussion that really clarifies that, but that doesn't really work because you don't even know who's going to be, who's going to win the election. You don't know who the council members are going to be given whatever year. So we didn't do it anyway. It was after, by the time I found this, that date has already passed. My proposal to you, unless there are objections, is to make that election on December 15th. Once the new council member is seated, we know who's going to be on the council. Unless you're opposed to that, we will schedule that for December 15th. And also the board appointments, we will schedule that for the following meeting, which I think is January 5th. If that's agreeable to everybody, if anybody has heartburn over this, please let me know.
I just have a question. Was
Sure.
was the vice mayor not addressed in the charter review?
The
Or
vice
just
mayor,
the establishment of it was
the
addressed?
vice mayor language
But
in the
not
charter remains the same as it did.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But the actual date of appointment.
The
is by
charter is
resolution.
silent
That's
on
fine.
the date.
That's fine. That's
It
fine.
doesn't, and the resolution was passed, again, like I mentioned, in 1988 to address the date, but I don't know what, that doesn't make, at least today, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sure it made sense then, but it doesn't make sense now.
Maybe for the future, we should clarify that resolution
Maybe
to
we should,
coincide,
yeah.
because we don't even have the council isn't
Yeah,
set,
yeah.
sat or seated or you
So,
know.
you guys,
sworn
everybody's
in.
okay with that? Okay, all right. Second thing is, FYI, and I only bringing this up tonight because this came up on me fairly quickly. The Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club has applied for and been awarded an increase in, or not an increase, a separate grant for $99,900.
Great.
And this is in addition to the $50,000 grant they received from the county recently. They have asked me to sign this. Our legal staff has looked at it, their legal staff has looked at it, there's been discussion back and forth. This has all happened since I've seen you last, since our last meeting. The agreement, as it stands, the city is not a party to this. They only require my signature representing the city as the landowner to say that we don't have any heartburn with basically our tenant receiving this money.
Not at all.
So according to our legal staff, this doesn't need to come before the council because we're not a party to it. We're not obligated to anything. But in the interest of transparency, I want to tell you what's going on, and if you have any heartburn about it, I have not signed it. I don't want to sign stuff without you guys knowing what I'm signing.
Okay, question?
Mr.
When
Schiff?
was this approved by the county?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you know the answer to that?
It does not have the county's signature on it yet. They wanted us to sign and the golf course to sign first. And then,
Maybe my question should have been, when did the club apply for this?
I don't know when they applied
Do you know
for it.
about? I don't think about it, because this was not part of the original negotiations and our overall funding scheme for the project.
It was originally in our numbers that we negotiated with the club. The club actually made application of this last year, if I'm not mistaken. This was pre-COVID that they got approved to get this grant. They never signed an agreement with the county. That's what this is the agreement that allows the distribution of those
So
funds.
this is the original agreement. This is the original, excuse me, poor words. This is the original funding instrument then for the, from the county's portion.
That is my understanding, yes, sir. This is not an additional grant that they're getting above and beyond the numbers that we built into our funding schedule when we did our tri-party agreement with SwiftBud,
Yeah.
and then we did our separate agreement with the club, and created our distribution and their commitment financially and our commitment financially. If you remember correctly, there was 50 grand built in there.
Right.
Right? That's their contribution. They're getting the 100, but it's a matching grant. So they've got to put 50 in, and the
So-
county gives them 50.
So they're going to get a check for $50,000 back, or they could get a check for $100,000? 99,900. I'm rounding it to 100,000.
Yeah, I don't know why they made it 99, but they did.
I don't misunderstand. They need to do this, they need to get their money back, but it's just, it was represented to us that it had to be a $50,000 matching grant. They spent 50 and the county would spend 50. Well, if they're spending 50 and the county's giving them back 100, then that's a little bit different than what we had proposed.
I don't think they're getting their money back. I think this is money towards doing additional.
Maybe it's just nomenclature, maybe it's just syntax.
Yeah, I don't think this is replacing their match. That's not how that works.
Okay, I'm not that familiar with the county grants like that,
Yeah.
how that matching, how that works.
Yeah.
If
They're not going to replace your match.
So then, how does it, I don't know, the terminology, the 99,900 throws me off.
Because if it's $100,000, it triggers a different set of rules.
Well, I realize that, yeah, I realize that,
That's why it's just short.
Okay, I don't care, it's still a project that needed to be done, and just go forward. I have no problem with it.
Mr. Chambers?
No, I don't have anything. I was going to say, originally I thought, because I'm not on the board, I haven't been on the board for years, but originally there was a $25,000 county grant for historic preservation, and then it was another 75 added, I thought, to make 100 total. But that could have been changed over the years.
Okay. I don't have a problem with asking them for some clarification of this. I was trying to get this moving, though, because
Go ahead.
we don't meet again for a month.
No,
Do
we
you
want you
need-
to sign it.
We're not,
Okay.
Do we have
All
to
right.
sign it?
All
Go
right.
ahead.
yeah.
And we'll
Sign
see if
away.
we can get some answers to some of these. Okay. I'm sorry, guys, I got a couple other things real quick. As you know, the city manager and his staff, to their credit, went out and found what seems like a very good, and Mr. Sister was involved in this too, thank you, a very good, viable alternative to our health insurance policy. And it looks like this is going to work very, very well. However, one of the benefits to this is that our health insurance fund continued to grow over a period of years. And if that fund grows, as it grows bigger, we're able to absorb more risk internally, and we're able to negotiate a better rate for reinsurance that may not have to kick in until a higher level. So the higher this fund grows, the more it grows, the better position the city's in, which is one of the chief benefits to this proposal, is that we get in a better position as time goes on. Unless future councils see this fund growing and growing and growing and see it as an opportunity to borrow against it like we sometimes do with the other enterprise funds. If they borrow against it, if they say, oh, look, that fund's $5-6 million, we've never spent anything out of it, it gets bigger every year, right? Let's borrow $300,000 or $3 million out of it to go build a new whatever, right? This will only work if we can protect that fund. So what I'm asking for your permission or direction is that we direct our city attorney and city manager and finance to look at this and craft an ordinance that prohibits the council, us or future councils, from borrowing from this fund. Now, I know that future councils can override that with another ordinance, but in order to do that, they have to have 2 public hearings, right? That's as transparent as we can get. That's as much as we can lock them in. So are you guys okay with this? Because I'd like to give them direction to do that. Mr. Sister?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. The night that the Evolution people were here, I think Mr. Chillura had asked that, what's the downside for this or the con? And he said, touching the fund. At which point I recommended at that point that we do exactly that. Let's research whether it requires a resolution. Ordinance is even better because it takes 2 public hearings for that to happen. I'm full agreement, and it's the only way that you ensure the viability of that type of a project, because it's technically becoming a self-insured scenario, and it can be made better, stronger, and we have more control over it. We're not at the mercy of the insurance companies who the 20% that they're making, we can keep it internally and grow the project, grow the fund, and actually be a benefit to the employees and keep it solvent. I agree with it wholeheartedly.
Is that okay with you guys? Everybody okay? All right. Got it? Okay. One last thing, and then I'll shut up and everybody will be happy. We talked during the budget hearings conceptually of the segment of the proposed trails, been on the books, or been on the planning table for years. The trail that goes from here, the parking lot on the north side of City Hall, down parallels Fowler Avenue on the south side of Fowler Avenue, and potentially connects the Mosey property, USF, Yangling, Moffett, now Uptown, the VA, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Stevenson and I have been trying to move that project up in the pecking order on the MPO's priority lists. We've had a couple of meetings. I've had a few with different people to talk about this. Most of this trail is outside of Temple Terrace. It's only the eastern terminus that's inside of Temple Terrace. But I am really trying to move this trail forward, which will probably involve some financial commitment from Temple Terrace unless we can get FDOT to pay for the whole thing. Now, I've gotten the MPO to initialize the study, which is the first step. They are commissioning the trail study, and the results of that study should be in around May or June, which is kind of awkward timing for the MPO agenda, but we're working on that. So I bring that up for you, not so much as a decision point for you now, but I bring that up to you. If you don't want me to continue to champion this trail, now's the time for the council to tell me we don't want that, because I don't want to keep working on something if that's not the council's wishes.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a great connector. Everything is moving in that direction. Yingling, Moffett, USF. I mean, let's connect. Let's do it.
Now, there's a lot of unknowns, and I don't know
Yeah.
when this thing might get built, but if you don't want to pursue this now, let
No,
me.
continue to champion.
Yeah, go
Did a
for
good
it.
job.
We're all right with?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Because on the other side of that, if light rail ever does, that will be, Mosey will be a terminus for it.
Well,
on
Mr.
this end.
Stevenson had an outstanding, what I thought was an outstanding idea. If we're going to build a trail, let's build it wide enough to accommodate an autonomous vehicle in the future, or carts, other type, not just pedestrians and bicycles. So I thought that was a very smart idea. So we did bring that up. All right, I'm sorry for dragging this out so long. New business and board reports. Mr. Chambers.
Yes, yesterday I had a river task force meeting, and Bob Luce, that cleans our river a lot, has been finding a lot of trash lately coming from what he thinks River Landing Apartments, which is in the county on Sly Avenue across from King High School. And the river task force asked me to ask council if you guys agree to see if we could get staff, and I don't know which department, police or code or somebody, to talk to their counterparts in the county to see if they could talk to the apartment manager just to see what they can do. So that's a request from the River Task Force.
Some things never change.
River Landing.
Joe Gross is the new code compliance director. at
River
Humboldt
Tree
County,
Landing,
so,
Is he really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
River
so
Tree
we-
Landing.
What's the apartment complex?
River Tree Landing.
What a shame.
That's it.
Okay, very good, you got it? We'll make that phone call. Very good, thank you.
Okay, I have one piece of new business that I'd like to bring up, not for any action on, just to keep the council and staff in the loop. There is a group of citizens who are trying to move, to bring forth some historical information. We're quickly coming upon our 100th anniversary. It's only a few years away. And I'm sure that there's things that have happened 100 years ago, now, today, that we don't know about. And as our city grows and more people move in and old people leave, however they leave, that history's disappearing. And if we lose it, it's never going to come back. So I'd like the council and the staff. I know that there's some new communication devices being considered as part of CARES and so forth that's going to be in the different facilities around the city that, we need to keep this history alive. We need to keep bringing it forward, especially as we come onto our centennial. I'm sure we'll have some type of celebration of some description through the year, but I'd like to see this. There's citizens out there, the Preservation Society, though they're not anxious to do it all themselves, but if we can come up with some type of a city group, employees and council members and residents and these groups, that we can come up with let's educate our citizenry, the new ones, on our history. There's a lot of stuff that, unless you've read the CAFR or the budget, you're not going to know what some of that history is. When we got our first fire truck and when we got this type of thing. And I think this would be something interesting going forward, maybe involve the schools, maybe involve the elementary schools and so forth. So I'd like to see that move, if we could, before the centennial's upon us.
Good, thank you, Mr. Schuster. 100 years ago, that apartment complex was dumping in the river.
They were dumping
Other
coonskin.
new business or board reports? Not. Mr. Stevenson, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a couple things here just to bring to council's attention. Some time ago, I guess a few meetings ago, we had mentioned to council we were considering holding fireworks for New Year's. After meeting with our public safety people and leisure services, we've decided to scrap that. Certainly, one of the reasons is our concern with COVID, obviously, and being able to enforce social distancing, so on and so forth. And I think, as everyone knows, COVID cases are now on the rise. So we have scrapped that idea. We have essentially started to make plans to hold our traditional 4th of July fireworks. We do have that money that we've given deposit to this gentleman that was going to hold our fireworks display last 4th of July. He has continued to want to work with us and kind of hold that money steady for us. And what we're going to try to do is take some money, if in fact we could have 4th of July fireworks, and hopefully we can. We can throw a little bit more funds to the next shoot that we have in 4th of July, because we'll have a little bit extra money. So just want to let you know, we've kind of scrapped the idea of holding New Year's fireworks. The other thing is just to let council know, and certainly the public, we have started our traditional Potter House Community Development Annual Toy Drive. That's something that it's a ministry outreach that the city has supported for the last several years. There are collection sites here at City Hall, the rec center, and the library. Customer service area, although we don't have public coming in, we certainly encourage the public to contribute to that because it is something that is good cause. Last thing I have, I'll ask Carl. Thanks for hanging out. I was going to give you an update on Christmas parade, and Carl showed up, and this is a great idea that they've come up with, so we're going to let him explain our Christmas parade idea for this year.
Mr. Langfield, welcome. I'm sure you're appreciative for him letting you do this at 8:30.
I am very appreciative of that,
I
yes.
told him that I would do it.
As we continue to deal with the fallout of COVID, our annual Winter Wonderland event, which is always one of the highlights of the year for me and for my department, and I think for the city as a whole, we had to rethink that. The golf cart parade was traditionally a part of the Winter Wonderland, and we decided that we could turn that into a standalone activity and expand it from what it was, just something around the first fairway, and bring it to the city streets and drive the golf carts around all of the different fairways. I'm not going to say all the different fairways because there's a specific route that it will be going. So that way folks can come out and see the golf cart parade and watch it from the fairway in a way that they can be responsible and socially distanced and still enjoy a holiday event. So that being said, Saturday, December 5th will be the night of the lighted golf cart parade. The parade will start and end from the family complex. For those entering golf cart, staging will begin at 6 p.m. We will have a brief driver meeting at 6:45, and then at 7 p.m. the parade will start. There is a course map and route. It is posted on Facebook, but basically it runs from the family complex to Druid Hills, up Glen Arvin to Belterre, along the first fairway, then back across and down Woodmont. We will drive past Woodmont Park where the Christmas tree, the city holiday tree, will be up and lit that night. Around the traffic circle, James, you'll have to help me out with some of the whole numbers because I'm not that familiar with them as it runs.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Anyway, those holes, but anyway, the course map is posted on Facebook.
8, 9, okay.
Of course, Santa Claus will be the honorary guest of the parade. Unfortunately, he will not be able to stop and meet with the children this year. He needs to make sure that he is healthy and ready to go for his commitment come New Year's Eve, so we don't want to do anything that may expose him unnecessarily.
He comes to my house Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve? When did I have him out? Oh, no, Christmas Eve.
Those people that live out of the city.
Just a couple of brief housekeeping things for the event. There is a $10 entrance fee for golf carts in the parade. As a bonus for those in the parade and paying that $10 entrance fee, that will include your 2021 golf cart decal. So that is a bonus to joining the parade that night. We will not be permitting the throwing of beads, candy, promotional materials, or anything from the carts this year to the crowd, just again, to maintain that safety in these times of COVID. So we're looking forward to a big parade. I want to thank police and fire. They're going to be big supporters and big helpers and have vehicles and trucks out there for the parade as well. So thank you guys for your involvement, and we hope to see you all out there on December the 5th. Thank you.
Thank you,
about the
Mr.
12th?
The 12th, kind of a surprise, but since you let the cat out of the bag, we had a tremendously successful movie on the lawn over Halloween. We're doing that again on Saturday, December the 12th, out at the family complex. Stay tuned for details with regards to registration and signups for your squares and the announcement of what movie we will be showing. But December the 12th, there will be a movie on the lawn with some sort of a holiday theme.
Mr. Langfield, Mr. Chillura has a question.
Yes, sir.
That's a great idea, especially with the limitations of COVID. Last year, I think Ms. Donahue, and there's a few residents that put together a boat parade. They shared in. I think we brought it to the city manager, and you guys said you were going to try to pick up on that. I actually experienced it. I was in the parade. I saw from the side. It was really cool. There was like 12, 15 boats, and with the isolation thing, it really, a lot of the residents were coming outside. It's a really neat thing. I think you were aware of it. They posted it. So I don't know if you guys are gonna do anything with that or not, but it was a really cool thing since there's so much limitations here where people can't gather together, with the exception of people on the boats. But, I don't know what they're
Well,
doing, but,
We've actually kicked some ideas around.
okay. you're on
If
it,
the
so-
folks who are putting that together reach out to
Well, if
me,
they
I
did.
will help to
She
get the
was
word out and.
You were there, right,
That
Sharon?
at our river meeting yesterday.
Yeah, that
Did
was
you?
really good.
Yes, can I talk about it?
Please do.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
It was discussed at the River Task Force meeting yesterday, and some of the organizers of that parade, it was unclear whether they wanted to have city involvement or not, whether we get the police boat to help escort. But today, apparently on Facebook today, they have made their announcement on that, so it's being publicized. And I'm trying to find it because I don't do Facebook very well, sorry.
It was really cool, I saw.
I think it's what night is the 12th, Saturday?
It's a Saturday night, yes.
I think it's Saturday the 12th, the lighted boat parade. And it starts at the Harney Canal, which is at the bend of the river where Ben Lomond Park is, and it will go up past Florida College. They're inviting people to go to Billy Graham Park to watch it, and then go up to Fowler Avenue to watch it too. So you guys talk. I mean, the residents have done it, and they, on their Facebook post, they said it's not a city-sponsored event, but it could be, so.
Well, we were gonna reach out and try to make it a city sponsor.
Well, reach out quick, because it's being publicized. so.
Chris will be here.
They had
Thank you.
shared that with me, I know we talked about it last year.
Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Mr. Stevenson, still city manager's report.
Oh, I don't have anything else, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Good, thank you. City attorney's report? Very good. Other business? I have one quick thing. I know I've said that all night. Well, I know, Frank, that you have one more meeting, but I also know that at our next meeting, there's gonna be a lot going on. And we're trying to keep our speeches brief, which I know is hard to do, but in the interest of time, we're asking everybody to kind of keep our comments as brief as we can. But on a personal note, I got to tell you, giving you the 20-year award was a privilege for me. I wouldn't be on the council if it were not for you. You have certainly given a tremendous amount to this city over the years. You've been on council longer than I've lived here. And to the citizens out there, it's like I said before, it's one thing to like your city and say, oh yeah, I like Temple Terrace, I like the golf course, I like the river. It's another thing to be willing to do this job. And unlike other forms, other layers of government and other government agencies, this is basically volunteer. This is a big pain in the neck for $300 a month or less, right? And people say, oh, you should give up, you should cut your salary. I'm like, well, what do you want, right? So Frank, you've been a great leader, a good friend, a true mentor. We wish you the best. I know we're going to see you again, but we're not going to have a lot of chance to talk. So please, I think I speak for everybody and all the people that you've served with. We're going to miss you, right? You've done a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Those are greatly appreciated kind words, and I'll say a little more then, but I will tell you, when I got here in 1995, my hair was dark. I had just gotten married. I had no kids. So lots has happened. So it's been a great journey, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and especially the residents, to give me the opportunity to serve them. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.